Photoshop and new file. And please make sure this is inches. It'll provide you with a couple different options. And if you're somebody who already knows pixels to inch conversion and you have that math brain, that's great. But I highly recommend if you don't, to use inches. You can obviously choose the orientation you want. So if you want it to be vertical or horizontal, that's what you would choose here. I think most portraits and posters kind of work well with a vertical orientation. And what I would like you to do as far as the dimensions themselves is to make the height at least an 8.5 by 11 piece of paper. So therefore the height would be the 11, the width would be 8.5. And make sure your resolution is 300. That says pixels by inch, not centimeter. And I would like you all to work in CMYK. That way, all of your projects at the end of this course are printer friendly. Okay, so then we'll just put create, and that gives us our artboard. So I have it right now in the painting workspace, which we will be in a lot during the semester. But for this first project, I think it would be easier to use the photography workspace. So I'm going to show you how to do that right now. So this little button in the upper right-hand corner is the choose a workspace button, and you can select the drop-down menu. You will hardly ever want to be in Essentials because it really limits what's provided readily in your toolbar to the left and to the right. So you have to search for a lot of things to see where they are. So I don't recommend Essentials. We're not going to be working in 3D in this class. So we'll kind of be going in between painting and photography. Painting we'll talk about as far as a workspace, what it has readily available, but just so you know, or for your own information. It sets it up so digital painting and drawing, all those tools are readily available. So you'll have your brushes over on the right, the ability to assemble your color palettes and swatch, and then your tools on the left-hand side. But again, for this project, we're going to be using photography. The nice thing about photography is a lot of the things it has readily available are things to edit. And over here, like things to crop and select, things you would be doing to alter an image. So that's sort of what we're going to be using for now. So as far as the project itself, which again, we talked about in class, the one thing I really want to note when you're searching for images. So let's just say you go to Google, maybe you're using Pinterest, whatever you want. I'm just going to put eyeball. Please make sure that when you are selecting an image for this collage, let's say I like this one, that the resolution is higher than this. I would suggest picking something in the thousands, just because it might end up being kind of pixelated if you want to make it bigger or smaller. And in general, a resolution of something between like 800, 900,000 is going to just have a really, really strong resolution. Now, an eyeball is something really small in an image. And unless you're going to make your eyeball the shape of your head, and that's going to be like the main image in your class, you can get away with a 600 resolution. The last thing is I tend to always drag the things onto my desktop that I'm going to use just so I know where they are, and then I'll save them later into a folder. And by doing that, you can also see the file type it is. So this is a JPEG, which is .jpg. You're going to want all of the images that you're going to use for this project to be JPEGs, PNGs, PDFs even if you want. But file types that are like a .web address or things like that, it might not let you import them into Photoshop. So just in general, a good rule of thumb is that your resolution, let's just say, is going to be higher than 600, 1000 is even better. And the file type itself is going to be a JPEG or PNG. It's just going to work the best for this project. Okay, so that's just a little tidbit about finding images. So let's go back into Photoshop. The first thing you're going to want to do is I always like to make sure the tool that I have selected is not going to mess up what I'm going to do. So just in general, having the move tool selected, which is V or Command V, is just a really good way to have that tool selected, so nothing else is selected that if you import an image is going to do something to it right away and be sort of strange. I'm going to unlock my background layer and just call it background, which will be kind of what you can decide to do behind your image if you want it just a solid color, a pattern, whatever. And layer one, I'm just going to call it birdhouse. So how to name your layers is you double click, you delete, and then you type in what you want it to be, and then press enter. I highly suggest doing this as you go, so that way you know what's on each layer, and if you accidentally have something that shouldn't be on that layer, you know, oh, I got to move this and make a separate layer. This little add button is how you add a layer, so that's just good to know. So to place your image into Photoshop, you can do it a couple different ways. Of course, you can click on your image, control click or right click, and you can say open with Photoshop, right? But what I like to do is get my artboard already set up in the dimensions that I want it to be. And then I go to File, Place Embedded. You can do Place Linked too, but I highly suggest Place Embedded. Go to On Your Computer, Desktop. And then I'm going to find my image, which is right here. And it is a JPEG, yay. And I'm going to place it in. All right.